Real Virginia is proudly produced by the Virginia Farm Bureau Federation. Since 1926, Farm Bureau has been working to preserve Virginia farms and our rural heritage. Visit our website at vafarmbureau.org.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay, Atlantic to Appalachia, home in my heart always.
Hello everyone and welcome to Real Virginia, a show about Virginia agriculture and the people who produce all the wonderful products we enjoy, brought to you by the Virginia Farm Bureau. Some Virginia families have been caring for their forests for more than a century. It's time to prepare your garden soil for fall, and Virginia's wine industry is thriving. We take you to 2 blue ribbon wineries to find out more about Virginia wines. Welcome back, everyone. We're here at Keswick Vineyards in Albemarle County, and it is absolutely stunning here. And also beautiful is, as you can see, the forest land behind me. And if you're traveling down a country road, you may notice some new signs that are out by a wooded patch. As Dave Miller tells us, this is Virginia's way of honoring those who have taken care of the timberland for more than a century.
The Virginia Century Forest Program is designed to recognize families with a passion for caring for one of the state's most important natural assets, private timberland. Since timber takes decades to mature, it takes someone with a passion for the land.
They'll tell you how many acres they have, what trees they have, how big they are, how old they are, the last timber harvest they had. That lasts maybe 5 minutes. And then the rest of the time you're with them, it's all about the stories, and it's about the memories, and it's about the family legacy.
Trees are a crop that must be grown over 40, 60, 80, or even 100 years. Family ownership is often an important element in management of this crop over such a long period of time. The forestry activities of John Burke's great-grandfather, grandfather, and father before him have benefited the company he now manages, Burke Woodlands in Caroline County. It's about assuring the continued health of the forests as well as generating a profit.
Not to say you should cut everything at any one particular moment in time, but a tree is very much like a person. It's got a lifespan and it will die at some point. And so if you think about an appropriate land ethic, the ethic would be to manage your forests in a way that you can get value from it, but then you replace that resource so that you have a sustainable resource that grows over time and renews itself.
Roughly 2/3 of Virginia is covered in forests, and out of that 16 million acres of forests, 10 million acres are owned by family forest owners. The decisions those families make on how to manage their forest lands and whether or not that land stays in forestry truly will determine what Virginia landscape will look like in the future.
When forest land passes from one generation to the next, that's when it's most at risk to being broken up and being taken out of forest land use. And so recognizing that or knowing that, the Century Forest Program again encourages that intergenerational land transfer to try to mitigate that.
Santucci notes that many farmers own forest land in addition to their cropland and pastures. That land is not only a magical place to enjoy nature, it can also be a source of additional income. Over a period of time, all timber owners can accomplish their financial goals and maintain a healthy forest and ecosystem on their land.
We don't harvest large blocks of timber at one time. We'll harvest smaller blocks, and we provide corridors so that game can move from one place to another. We protect water quality with what are called SMZs, streamside management zones. So all of that's important. And before we harvest or thin a stand, we'll study it. We'll evaluate what we want to accomplish, what Mother Nature is telling us, listen to Mother Nature and try to help her and improve what she's trying to accomplish to start with.
If you own forest land but are not actively managing it, Burke suggests surveying what you have and seeking good advisors to help plan for a healthy forest future. The Virginia Department of Forestry is one source for such help. In fact, it's one of their primary roles. In Caroline County, this is Dave Miller.
Virginia forests are an important economic asset to the Old Dominion. Timber operations and other forest-related industries contribute almost $17 billion a year to the state, as well as being the foundation for a strong tourism and recreation industry. There are more than 103,000 forest-related jobs as well in Virginia. With 62% of the state's total land area covered by forests, they also add valuable ecological benefits, such as cleaner water, wildlife habitat, carbon sequestration, and flood mitigation.
I'm Mark Viette. Coming up on In the Garden, I'm going to give you some ideas on how to achieve that picture-perfect lawn or the most productive vegetable garden, and at the same time, save money. Stay with us.
90 years ago, the Virginia Farm Bureau made our local farmers a promise to protect and preserve a way of life they'd worked so hard to establish. Today, our insurance agents work to protect all Virginians, not just farmers. Anyone can be a Farm Bureau member, but the original promise remains. There's a local Farm Bureau in every county of the state. We want to keep Virginia, Virginia. Visit our websites at farmbureauadvantage.com and vafarmbureau.org.
After a very hot summer, Virginia's garden soil could probably use a little tender loving care. Today, Mark Viette has some tips for fall in the garden.
If you really know what your soil has and what's in your garden, then you can put products down to help enhance your lawn and increase production of your vegetable garden without wasting products. And in turn, if you're wasting products, of course, you're wasting your money. So it's important to do a soil test. You don't have to do this every year, but what you would do, like in a lawn, is every so often take a soil test, which I'll show you in a minute. It's very simple. The soil test is sent on, and then you get results. In some cases, you get results right online, where you can go online and see what you have going on in your lawn or in your vegetable garden. And at the same time, you can get recommendations according to what really you're trying to achieve. This is one of my favorite shovels. They're hard to find, but you just come right down 3 to 4 inches, and this is in a turf that I want to check both the nutrition level and at the same time organic matter level. You can have both tested for. Then what you do is you just dig it up like this, and this is really what you're going to end up with. Not too wet, and you're going to have a bucket, and you're going to peel off the organic matter from the top or your lawn, and really you're going to get right below the turf, you're going to get about 3 to 4 inches, and you're going to have that in the bucket. And what you're going to do is you're going to go maybe 20 feet, 30 feet this way, and dig a couple other samples. And the samples that you get will then be mixed. You're going to thoroughly mix each of the samples. So you might want 6, 7, maybe even 10 different samples from your lawn. I've learned over time that tomatoes really like a lot of calcium. So there really are reasons that you would want to test your vegetable garden to ensure it has optimal amounts of nutrition. And so I've done a couple samples already. These weeds will be killed, and then a vegetable garden will be put in place. And again, the same as doing a lawn, 3 to 4 inches deep, multiple areas, and then you're going to mix it. You always make sure you have a clean bucket. Wash your bucket if you've used any kinds of fertilizers or anything like that. And once you've gotten your soil sample, you force out the air, and then usually they come with a sample where this is self-addressed, ready to go, or there's a sticker you put on it so it can be tested. You put your sample in it, and once you get your results, I'm going to know how much calcium, how much nitrogen, and if you believe in organic gardening, you can use that test to also supply the right amount of organic materials that you're going to want to have in your vegetable garden. And you don't have to do this every year, but this really helps ensure the highest, most productive vegetable garden. It also helps reduce disease problems and other problems if your plants are as happy as they can be. I'm Mark Viette. Join me next time in the garden.
For more garden tips, go to inthegardenradio.com.
We're heading into another fall oyster season here in Virginia, so Chef John Maxwell has prepared a southern chowder to please your palate. Stay tuned.
From our farms to your table, Virginia dairy farm families are dedicated to providing your family with nutritious, high-quality milk.
I'm Dan Myers, a fifth-generation dairy farmer from Virginia.
I'm Roy Vanderhyde, a first-generation dairy farmer from Virginia.
I'm Gerald Heatwool, a third-generation dairy farmer from Virginia.
I am dedicated to dairy, my cows,
My milk,
and our land.
There were once so many oysters raised and consumed in Virginia that the shells were crushed and used in roadways. Today, the industry is getting back on its feet after decades of disease and overharvesting problems in the Chesapeake Bay. Virginia is now known as the oyster capital of the East Coast, as the harvest increased 24% in the 2014 season. The total dockside value that year was more than $33.8 million, the largest in a generation. And the 2015 season was even better. Much of the Virginia oyster harvest now comes from private aquaculture operations instead of public fisheries.
Cooler weather is on the way, and that means that it's oyster season in Virginia. Chef John Maxwell has been preparing corn and oyster chowder for decades now, and he's sharing his recipe with us today in the heart of the home.
Hi, I'm Chef John Maxwell. We're here at Chef Maxwell's Kitchen at the heart of the home in Meadow Event Park in Doswell, Virginia. Every week, we make recipes using great Virginia food, and we make them in our kitchen so that you can make them in your kitchen. And today we're going to have a great time. We're working with some farm-raised oysters from Cape Charles, Virginia. We're using an oyster called a ruby salt from Cherrystone Creek. A delightful oyster. It's farm-raised. They're called ruby salts because the oyster aquaculturalist, the oyster farmer's daughter's name is Ruby. So these are named after Ruby from Cape Charles. So we've got some corn in here, right? Corn cob, actually. And I'm going to take this corn cob, and peel it down, shuck it. And now I'm going to cut the kernels off. I'm only going to do a few of these. I've got a couple of them already done. All right, so we've got the corn cut from the cob, and I'm going to put it into this dish, and it's going to go straight into that pot. I'm going to add the corn, and we're going to add these potatoes. I used red potatoes. You can use any potato you want. I don't like using russets to go into water because they get too flaky. What makes them a great baked potato makes them a poor boiled potato. So these are red skin potatoes, right? And in they go. Right. Now this is going to cook for a little while. Right. I'm going to pull out the corn cobs. Those three that were in there were doing what we needed them to do, and I wanted you to see the corn cob going in. So, but we don't need all of that corn cob. Right. Now this is going to come back to heat. I'll talk about these oysters. As you can see, these are nice and plump oysters, a nice round shell, deep bottom. That's kind of the thing you want to look for because that means there's going to be lots of juice inside of them. I'm not going to try and open one on camera. One of these days we'll get together and I'll show you some different ways to open an oyster, but today we're going to concentrate on the chowder. Right? I'm going to take some milk, about 2 cups. Throw that on in there. So we've got milk, we've got corn water, we've got potatoes, and we've got oysters getting ready to go in. So we're going to let this come to a heat, come to a boil, Cook long enough for the corn to begin to soften. And then we're going to add our oysters, and we'll be back in a few minutes to do that. I've shucked these. These are out here for decoration. I've shucked these, and I'm going to go ahead and put these down in this water. All right. It's water, milk, potatoes, and corn, and now oysters. Really a simple recipe, not very many components to it, right? And all the oysters need to do is get good and hot. They really don't need to cook for very long. We want them to cook until the edges begin to curl. And you can see with this oyster how it's very soft and thick and the edges are smooth. So we're going to put this in here for just a couple of more minutes. You can see this now, the edge is beginning to curl a little bit. You can see down in here how that edge of the oyster is beginning to separate out and curl. And you can see another one here is beginning to do that. And most people, if they have an objection to oysters, and I don't know anybody who doesn't like the taste of oyster. Oysters are delicious. Some people have a little bit of a trouble with the texture. So this stew, this chowder, helps with that texture. It firms it up, makes it less slick, so to speak. You can see how this is starting to curl a little bit. You can see the oyster fins. Let's take a little bit of a taste, right, and see if we got enough salt out of those oysters. Oh yeah, just perfect. You got a nice oyster flavor to it, and it's got a little salt in the background. It's nicely balanced flavor. And here we go. We're going to take this and we're going to put it out there. Now it needs a little garnish, so I'm going to use some chopped green pepper and sprinkle it around. And there we have it, a wonderful oyster stew using ruby salt oysters from Cape Charles, Virginia, from Cherrystone Creek. While you're working in your kitchen at home, make sure you're playing with Virginia food.
Recipes from the heart of the home can be found on Chef Maxwell's website, chefjohnmaxwell.com. The Meadow Event Park, the State Fair of Virginia, birthplace of Secretariat, America's greatest racehorse. All these titles apply to the Meadow, the former horse breeding farm in Caroline County, Virginia that was established in 1936 by Christopher Chenery and acquired in 2013 by the Virginia Farm Bureau Federation. Today, the property's 331 acres represent one of the Mid-Atlantic's most beautiful and versatile multi-purpose facilities, with a 63,000 square foot exhibition hall, beautiful meadow hall, and ample equine and livestock facilities, plus acres and acres of outdoor space. The property hosts 3 signature events: the annual State Fair of Virginia, Illuminate Light Show, and the Virginia Horse Festival. The State Fair of Virginia is known for its family-friendly atmosphere, exciting attractions, and, of course, fabulous fair food. The most important focus continues to be youth and adult livestock competitions, and dozens of competitions where other Virginians can win a coveted State Fair blue ribbon. Everything from prize vegetables to baked goods to crafts and photography are featured each year as the best of the best. In 2015, the Sale of Champions Youth Livestock Auction was revived and is bringing thousands of dollars in new youth scholarships to participants. Each fall, young people from all over Virginia earn money for college by showing livestock at the fair. The State Fair of Virginia and other rural events are a great way for the Virginia Farm Bureau to share the importance of agriculture with the non-farming public. And the beautiful grounds reflect the history and tradition of excellence begun when Secretariat was born here. You can learn more about the Meadow Event Park and events and facilities at meadoweventpark.com.
Virginia's wine industry is continuing to grow. Last year alone, 6.5 million bottles of Virginia wine was sold. And as demand continues to increase for Virginia wine, we were wondering, where can you find Virginia wines and what does it mean to produce a local wine? So we went to the source, to 2 Virginia wineries that won blue ribbons.
Virginia's climate and landscape are perfect for vineyards, which can be found all around the state.
Different varieties of wine grapes thrive in the state due to local soil conditions. There are more than 250 wineries in Virginia, and each year those wineries are celebrated in the State Fair Virginia Wine Competition. This year, more than 90 entries were judged to see who would be considered the best in Virginia. Two wineries that won gold medals this year are Cossinell Vineyards and Winery in Loudoun County and Democracy Vineyards in Nelson County.
Virginia wine is 1, grown here, 2, produced here, 3, bottled here, and 4, sold here in Virginia. Legally speaking, from a business standpoint, it's 75% of that wine needs to have fruit grown in Virginia. Here at Cossinell, we do 100% Virginia all the time since the beginning. That's what it is.
Being recognized as one of the best in the state was important to this farmer-first winemaker. Cossinell produces roughly 1,000 cases of estate wines each year. In 2016, their 2014 Carmenere and their 2013 Petit Verdot won top honors during the state fair competition.
Thomas Jefferson always said the most noble profession is a farmer. And my family, we really believe in that, and we live that every day, and it's evident in our vineyards. You go out and you can see the quality of our fruit. The judges in the state fair, they understood that. They can taste the quality, and I truly believe that's why we medaled twice gold for our Carmenere and our Petit Verdot.
Jim Turpin with Democracy Vineyards traded life as a political lobbyist for a career making high-quality Virginia wines with quirky political names. His 2014 Magna Carta, also a Petit Verdot, received the gold medal nod by the judges.
What you're finding in Virginia is that we're coming to be known for a number of varieties that do especially well here. Petit Verdot is one, Petit Manseng is another one, which is similar to a Riesling. And that really sets the region apart because they are grapes that don't necessarily do well other places. You get some different types of grapes than you would get in a number of other regions that you wouldn't get in, say, a California or even New York or even something like New Jersey.
You can find some of the more popular Virginia wines in local grocery stores and restaurants. However, both Turpin and D'Souza agree the best place to find the right Virginia wine is to visit your local winery and see, smell, and taste the difference that our wines are making in the wine industry. Most estate wineries are smaller and sell primarily through their tasting rooms.
Good wine starts in the vineyard, and it's very hard to come back from low quality fruit. You can't make a high quality wine from low quality fruit. The grapes are teaching me. It's not the other way around. Like I'm there to see what they're telling me, how they're feeling. You can just taste it in the fruit.
We have the tasting, we have the tour, we can do tours of the vineyard, tours of the winery. But also Virginia is rich in history, and we try to reflect that in our tasting room.
October is Virginia Wine Month, a great time to get out and sample a Virginia vintage. Celebrations for local wines include special events, tastings, festivals, and more at statewide wineries. For more information, go to virginiawine.org for a listing of local events. That's going to do it for this edition of Real Virginia. We are so glad you could join us to celebrate the bounty Virginia has to offer. Whether it's in your home, your garden, or your landscape, we are proud to say that this is Real Virginia. So for everyone from the Virginia Farm Bureau, thanks for watching. Make it a good week.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake.